Well, what can I say? The US economy is officially in a recession. However, on the same day that it's announced, the S&P 500 closed at 3,232. Year to date, price return has just turned positive. Unemployment numbers came out last Friday. They expected an 8.3 million job loss. However, we had a 2.5 million job gain. Experts predicted 20 to 30% unemployment, and we're currently in the month of May at 13.3% unemployment. So it makes sense that the stock market is up quite a bit this week. It's better news than expected. It probably wasn't priced in, so it does make sense. It's just a little scary with the protesting and the riots in such close quarters while there's still a pandemic going around. Symptoms usually arise after 11 days, so I think time will tell if we're going to hit a large wave, and it's not even the second wave, it's still number one. We didn't even get over the first wave yet, so wave one might just be ramping up pretty soon, and that's pretty scary. Communities in the US are currently trying to make a change in the world for the better, and it's just a little sad. All these people that are trying to make the world a better place, they're putting themselves at such risk. So we might be seeing a lot of these people with great intentions falling ill. It's just sad. This week I wanted to talk about something called loss aversion. It's a study where a negative experience you feel from having lost something is more extreme than the positive experience you get from gaining something of equal value. This also applies to like sports fans. If your sports team loses a game, it's said to impact you harder than if your sports team wins a game the following week, which is the perfect segue into Atasa Therapeutics. I made a mistake. I sold out all my Atasa Therapeutic stock in my TD Ameritrade account with the intention to use that money to buy an equivalent amount of shares of Atasa Therapeutics in my Webull account. However, I didn't count on the transfer to take as long as it did. It had to take 1 to 2 days to transfer from my TD into my bank account, and then another day or two for it to transfer from my bank account to my Webull. And unfortunately for me, the stock kind of skyrocketed during that time. I believe I sold around 230, and then now it's currently 330. So that's about an $800, $900 loss for me, maybe even more. I haven't bothered to do the math. I don't want to know. It wasn't that costly of a lesson to be learned. I didn't lose out on too much. I'm trying not to be affected too negatively by it. However, this week alone, I'm up $437 in my Webull account. It's not that equivalent in value, but this $437 I'm not even happy about. I'm just more devastated at the loss of the $800 to $900. Even though I've more than made up for it over the month, I'm up $600 in the month. However, one thing I kind of read up on, this is the profit and loss chart that Webull has, and it apparently takes in consideration your deposits as well. It's not just your gains from the stock market. So if I deposited $600 this month, that would mean I only made a $9.66 gain here. So I'm a little disappointed with Webull in this. It's not very telling on your performance, especially because there's a P&L chart that I showed you where it says I'm up 47% in comparison to the Dow Jones Industrial. It's up 14% in the last 3 months. That makes me feel really great, but it's not reflective of what's actually happening. These spikes that you see on like May 6th and May 26th, those are the large deposits that I made into my account. They're not even reflective of the stock gains. I hope that Webull fixes this and only includes your capital gains that you make on stocks. Again, I'm a long-term holder. It doesn't really matter to me if stocks are up and down, but this is just kind of a useless infograph that I hope they fix in the future. I mentioned earlier that there was a 2.5 million job gain versus the expected 8.3 million job loss, and that was reflected in the stock market this week as the DJI was up 6.5%, the S&P 500 was up 4.5%, and NASDAQ was up 2.5%. And that definitely reflects in my stocks this week. Here are my positions. I'm up quite a bit in all of them. A lot of double-digit percentages of increased value, Ally at 33%, Simon Property at 76%. We have Jets at 50%, and then down at my Atasa, the one that I sold out on, 107.9%. I bought at $1.50, now it's $3.16. I really wish that I did not sell. Currently, I'm up in every single stock I own except for Pfizer and Pepsi. Last week I stated that Pfizer is really undervalued in my opinion, and I still hold that belief. So I plan to buy more of that, and I plan to buy more of Pepsi. Pepsi has always been one of those brands that kind of just stayed flatlined forever. You definitely bought it for the dividend investing. You don't see many swings with it, and they're up to where about they were before the pandemic started. There was kind of a little bit of a jump for a few months, but they're back to baseline. Pfizer is kind of a similar story. They dropped off a bit in September of last year, and they dropped off a lot during the pandemic, and now they're back up to about where they were before the pandemic started. I bought my original shares at $37, and now it's around $36, so I plan to invest more in Pepsi and Pfizer in the upcoming weeks. Here's Southwest Airlines. I wish I had bought, but I'm still glad I didn't. I think I would feel anxious over owning this stock. It's at 0% dividend. This week was a little uneventful for me in this account. I actually paid off the remainder of my parents' loan that they gave me for buying my house. I really wanted to get that out of the way before I focused on investing in myself. So I only deposited $200. Now that my debt's paid off, I plan to invest aggressively, even though stocks are way up from what they were a week ago. I might have missed out a little bit, but sometimes you have to be selfless and do what's right instead of doing what's right for you. My 401k and my Roth IRA, they're tech heavy, so I don't feel the need to really go crazy into tech in this account. I do plan to buy some Microsoft and some Apple eventually, but like I said, everything's at an all-time high right now in tech. I'm not rushing into it. I feel like there's a lot of other undervalued stocks still that are ready to be bought. So I plan to deposit $200 a week versus $800 a month. It's kind of like when you have cash on hand, you're more likely to spend it. That's how I am if I have cash in my money market. I just feel like I have to buy a stock. So by depositing $200 a week, I kind of limit myself on what I'm buying, and it allows me to space things out more. However, in this case, if I had just deposited the $800 at the beginning of the month, I would have done much better for myself. So I don't know, there's a trade-off. I wanted to go over some inaccuracies in my previous video. The P&L comparison chart, I just spoke about that. I thought I was up a certain percentage, but that included my deposits, so obviously that was incorrect. And then I misspoke. I mentioned that store included malls. I got that mixed up with Simon Property Group. Store is just for single family residential. So I just wanted to clear that up. That's about it for this episode. This week was pretty uneventful for me. I didn't make very many deposits or investments. I was just watching the stock market take my already accumulated stocks up to higher levels, which is exciting in its own. But the next episode should include my first dividend payment, so that'll be exciting. If you were interested in signing up for Webull, they currently have a referral program where you can use a code and sign up and then make a deposit and receive 2 free stocks. If you wanted to use my code, it's down in my description. You would receive 1 free stock after your account was approved, and you would receive your second stock after you deposited a minimum of $100 and that deposit was cleared. If you wanted to help me out, you could use my referral code. It's down in the description below. That's about it for this episode. I hope to see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.